Chapter 13. The Paedophile Pirate. Mohammad, like his religion, was fixated on the flesh. According to the Koran, bodies were reassembled so that the skins could be singed in hell and teased in paradise. Man's spirit was incidental. I believe this is because the religion was made in the Prophet's image. It reflected his character and desires. To appreciate Islam's elevation of body over soul, we must look at the source of his inspiration. Mohammed was right when he described the angel that visited him as a slave.
Bukhari. So Allah conveyed the inspiration to his slave Gabriel, and then he, Gabriel, conveyed it to Mohammed.
Angels, fallen or heavenly, demonic or godly, have no choice. To borrow another line from Islam, they must submit and obey. Islam's dark spirit knew all about angelic submission, because he once was one.
Quran 7, verse 11. It is we who created you and gave you shape. Then we ordered the angels to fall and prostrate themselves to Adam.
The same passage goes on to correctly implicate Satan and suggest angels are eternal.
Quran 7, verse 19. Satan said, Your Lord only forbid you this tree, lest you should become angels, immortal, living forever.
Satan, like all angels, is a four-dimensional construct. That is to say, he can maneuver in time, the fourth dimension. While this may sound complex, we have known since Einstein that space has a fourth axis, an infinite aspect we cannot yet navigate. In this regard, angels are superior to men, as we are trapped in three-dimensional bodies, stuck in time. Yahweh is not, which is why his name means I am, or I exist. He is immortal and timeless. His infinity exists in the fourth dimension. This is how Yahweh predicts the future. He knows the future not because he has ordained it, but because he has already been there and witnessed the culmination of our choices. Now put yourself in Satan's wings for a moment. He knows that his spirit is inferior to ours for two reasons. We are made spiritually in God's image. We have choice. With choice, we have the capacity to be creative and to love. This is why God created us. These attributes remain his and our most powerful qualities. So Satan doesn't want to compete with us spiritually. There he cannot win. But when he competes bodily, he cannot lose. We are three-dimensional, he is four. The difference is infinite, just as it is between the two- and three-axis realms. The comparison is like a cartoon rendering of Mickey Mouse competing with Walt Disney, or more accurately, with Walt's secretary. This is why Islam is focused on the body. It's why the covetous Mohammed was the perfect satanic prophet. The arrival of the first child born to the Muslims after the Hijrah was celebrated.
Tabari. The messenger's companions cried, Allahu Akbar.
Allah is greater or greatest, therefore greater than Yahweh is the implication.
When she was born, this was because the story was circulated among the Muslims that the Jews claimed that they had bewitched them so that no children would be born. The Muslims praised Allah that he had falsified the Jews' claim.
They were saying that their gods' magic spells were more powerful than the Jewish gods. Even if they were right, it made Islam wrong. The next 7 section heads in Tabari's The Foundation of the Community begin with
expedition.
The Arabic word is
Maghazi,
which is translated
raid
in the Sirah. It actually means invasion. It is synonymous with
Jihad,
defined by Bukhari as
holy fighting in Allah's cause.
A more complete explanation is provided in the Book of Jihad on page 580 of Maktaba Dar as-Salam's publication of Sahih al-Bukhari.
Jihad is holy fighting in Allah's cause with full force and weaponry. It is given the utmost importance in Islam and is one of its pillars. By jihad, Islam is established. Allah is made superior and He becomes the only God who may be worshipped. By jihad, Islam is propagated and made superior. By abandoning jihad, may Allah protect us from that, Islam is destroyed and Muslims fall into an inferior position. Their honor is lost, their lands are stolen, and Muslim rule and authority vanish. Jihad is an obligatory duty in Islam on every Muslim. He who tries to escape this duty dies as a hypocrite.
Memorize this paragraph. Shout it out to all who will listen. Every word was derived from the Koran. Every word was lived by Mohammad. It accurately represents fundamental Islam. So much so, each of the 150 hadiths that follow this definition of jihad speak of fighting. None suggest a spiritual struggle. Among them, Mohammed says that the most important deed is jihad, fighting in Allah's cause. In Bukhari, Volume 4, Book 52, number 44. And the Quran agrees, saying peaceful Muslims are hypocrites, destined for hell. They are
the worst of creatures, the most vile of animals.
You will find this in Quran Surahs 3 and 33. So that there is no question regarding the appropriateness of using Bukhari as a source, here's what the Islamic scholars had to say in the preface.
Al-Bukhari's hadith is the most authentic and true book of the Prophet.
The translator said,
I am perfectly sure that the translation, with Allah's help and after all the great efforts exerted in its production, has neared perfection.
The imams from the cradle of Islam, the Islamic University of Medina in Saudi Arabia, said,
It has been unanimously agreed that Imam Bukhari's work is the most authentic of all the other sources in hadith literature put together. It is second only to the Quran.
That leaves you and me at the crossroads of destiny. If we don't deal with the awesome gravity of Islamic jihad, our future will vanish before our eyes. If we wish to avoid the abyss of world war, we must expose the doctrine committed to world conquest. We must liberate Muslims from Islam.
The expedition led by Hamzah
was the first Maghazi. Hamzah, a huntsman in Mecca, was now a
Mujahid,
plural of mujahideen,
a Muslim warrior in jihad. Tabari, in Ramadan, 7 months after the Hijrah, Muhammad entrusted a white war banner to Hamzah with the command of 30 immigrants. Their aim was to intercept a Quraysh caravan.
7 months after fleeing Mecca in shame, the pedophile prophet has become a pirate and terrorist. So that there is no misunderstanding, let's define these less than admirable characterizations. Pirate is a renegade who, along with others under his command, uses force of arms to steal the property of others. A terrorist is a person who violently attacks civilians, destroys their property, and disrupts their economy as a means to achieve a political objective. The flag Mohammed handed to Hamzah was a war banner. It was one of the many symbols the prophet stole from his patriarch Qusay. Hamzah was a warrior. He was given command over 30 men. Their aim was to intercept a caravan, a civilian economic enterprise, owned by the people Mohammed had promised to slaughter because they had teased him. Although we are told
they separated without a battle,
the intent was piracy and terror. Their failure did not change what they had become, what Islam had done to them. At this point in the Prophet's career, there were simply more good guys than there were bad guys, and he was as inept as a pirate as he was as a prophet. Turning to Muhammad's biographer, we learn more about the mindset of the first Muslims.